Remember what we practiced. You see a pretty girl in there? You imagine that girl's head on a turkey, twerking.
Yeah, it can even help even the most awkward person find love with just a simple touch of the boobs. I was gonna say.
In other words,
it has been quite the month for all of you. It's been really exciting. You have the release of your on digital platforms, as well as on demand. You've been selected to be screened during the 2020 New York Latino Film Festival. Very exciting. The thought that came to mind as I was preparing for this interview was you planted the seeds, you nurtured the process, and now it's all coming to fruition. Patrick, Cristina, how does that feel?
Feels great.
It feels amazing. I mean, it really does. All the love that is pouring in. Like my goddaughter was like one of the first ones at 12:01 midnight. She was like on there. So it's exciting. You know, it's been a long road, like you said.
It is. It's such a long road with so much work that goes on. It's almost hard to believe that we're here at the end of the road when the public finally gets to share in this very special movie. So many awesome moments in it that are very unique to this film, and I can't wait for people to share it.
Well, I'm curious, when did your creative juices start flowing for this project? So how far back are we going?
We're going quite a ways back. I had finished my first film, Lola's Love Shack, in about 7 years ago. And about 2 years after that, so about 5 years ago, I got a call from Ruben Islas, who became our executive producer, who said, "Patrick, I want to make a film with you." And this, these are words, music to my ears. I was like, fantastic. And so that's where the project really got started. But there was a lot of roadblocks that happened, and we didn't actually start filming it until 2018. So from that 5 years ago to 2 years ago was just development, script writing, deal making, figuring out the process. And then there was the creative process from 2018 until now.
Right.
For Bryan and Natasha, as actors, when you first saw the script, what were your thoughts? And did you think, this is the role for me?
I'll let Natasha talk first.
Begin.
Oh, such a gentleman. You're always such a gentleman. Okay, so I read the script, and right off the bat, I knew that this was a character that I wanted to portray, breaking stereotypes. My character, she is a blonde Latina that comes from Mexico City, and she comes to the States, and she doesn't speak English. So what I really loved about the script was how Patrick and Cristina just broke stereotypes on how Latinos are portrayed. Because Latinos, we are all shapes, colors, and sizes, and it's just wonderful to be able to tell stories that are so diverse and colorful as our heritage. So as a Latina woman, I'm very proud to have been part of this project that I know people are going to love. It's a great romantic comedy, it's family friendly, and definitely what we need right now in the world is something positive to watch, and that's exactly what this is.
When I first got the script, I knew right away that it was a special script because sometimes when I'll read scripts and it's comedy, I'll just say to myself, oh, that was funny. Yeah, that was funny. But when I was reading this script, I was laughing out loud and my whole body was like convulsing with laughter at certain parts. So I was like, okay, this is really good. This is a funny script. So then as I just went through it, it was also a very touching script. And the role itself, I like to joke with people that I don't know how these guys approach me with a tech geek that gets nervous around beautiful women. I don't understand how that could possibly have come my way because that's so far from me. But I was willing to try, so I did, and I hope it comes off because it's so new to me. Mm-hmm.
It's been described, and I'm going to look at my notes because I want to say this correctly. It's been described as a romantic comedy that's a cross between Like Water for Chocolate and Sideways. What sparked that particular reference?
Well, sideways because of the wine. Natasha's character, Angelica, works at a winery south of the border. There's a wine region called Valle de Guadalupe. Beautiful, beautiful wine region, beautiful architecture, the food, it's like, there's Michelin-rated chefs there. It's just the food is farm to table, organic, incredible cuisine is going on there. And so Bryan's character, True Andrews, goes with his buddies to pursue Angelica there. And so it is a road trip like Sideways through wine country. And it also highlights the food of the region. And another character who's not with us today is Edy Ganema plays Karina, and Karina is an aspiring chef. And so there's food, there's wine, there's romance, and that's why they compared it to those movies.
That's a perfect segue, because my next question was going to be, what inspired you for this particular film?
So the inspiration actually once again goes back to Ruben Islas. And Ruben had this friend of his who had sold his app, and then he took some time off and went to France and met this beautiful girl who only spoke French and Greek, and he only spoke English. And this was years ago, maybe over 20. They're still together to this day. And the things that they had to use, the elements they had to use were like, they had to communicate with this gigantic translation dictionary. And so I went down to interview the couple, and we got the story. But Ruben was like, you know what? I want it set in Valle de Guadalupe. And so he invited Patrick and myself to go and experience Valle de Guadalupe. And mind you, like I've said before, I had only known Baja to be like the tacos in Tijuana, La Bufadora in Ensenada, and then Puerto Nuevo for lobster. But this wine country was just gorgeous. And so every time we went, because we had to go so many times and we had to sacrifice ourselves for this research, the story would just unfold. And I had my water for chocolate moment, the moment that I tasted the food there. It was just emotional. So every time we went, there was something new that we added to the story. And so this is a love letter to Mexico and to Valle de Guadalupe, because it wrote itself. He hates when I say that.
Nothing writes itself. She wrote it.
No, but it was just the characters there. We were meeting vintners who were so amazing. Grand Dames and Renee Victor plays the Grand Dame, Regina.
She owns one of the wineries. And so we met female owners of wineries. And it just, talk about what Natasha was saying of blowing up stereotypes. That's what Valle de Guadalupe was for us. The way Mexico is traditionally portrayed as some sort of a post-apocalyptic wasteland. You don't get to see the beauty of the architecture, of the people, of the food, the culture. And that's what we highlight in this film.
Something that Bryan mentioned earlier when I was asking about the roles for you and Natasha and what it felt like in reading the script, and you mentioned that you enjoyed the comedy aspect. So for the two of you, I'm curious, is it easier to play a comedic role than a dramatic one?
Bryan, you go ahead.
Easier? I don't know if easier is the right word, but certainly enjoyable for me. I love comedy, and I'm just a huge goofball. So whenever I get a chance to be myself and be goofy in that way, I take it and I enjoy it. One thing I would say that it's fun about just being on a set that's comedic is that I guess the overall morale and spirit of a comedy set is a lot more fun, because people don't need to get in a serious mindset to, cry or whatever the scenario might be on a drama. So I guess just the overall from beginning work to end of work seems to be a lot more fun on comedies, but I've definitely goofed around quite a bit on dramas as well. So.
Sometimes I get nervous.
Don't be nervous. I don't bite.
I go.
In other words.
Natasha?
For me, I think that comedy as well as drama, I mean, every genre has its challenges. But for me, comedy has a very special place in my heart because I grew up watching comedy. I grew up watching Saturday Night Live, for example, and just the fact that I ended up working with Chris Kattan after my brother and I had a conversation, I think when I was like 10 years old, about how I was going to work with Chris Kattan one day, and then I ended up working with him, 20 years later. I mean, it's just, comedy has always had a very special place, like I said, in my heart, and just to be able to, like Bryan says, just goof around, have fun, and just create something so positive that people are just going to enjoy. It's that energy that really gets me, in a place that I feel inspired, and I definitely just let go and I get creative and I have a good time.
Well, we've been teasing viewers about this particular film, so how about we give them a glimpse of the trailer?
Don't say my name.
True.
Don't say my name.
True.
No.
True.
No. Don't say my name. No. That's true. No. True. Bless you. No. No.
I know that all of you have been full force when it comes to this film. You even have, I understand, a music video. I'm excited to hear more about this. Cristina?
Well, sure. We our music supervisor is named Mark Torres, and he has a show here in Los Angeles on 90.7 KPFK and worldwide at kpfk.org called Travel Tips for Aslan, where he features some of the most cutting-edge hybrid Latin rock, Latin alternative, Chicano, native rock. And he's had this show for many, many years. So when we were going to make this movie, he was the first one on my list to call as music supervisor, because we are border crossing literally in the film, and because we do mix kind of the two cultures very well, just for the fact that we're Latino Americans. This particular tone of music is exactly what we wanted to portray. And so he hired one of his, he's actually the manager for an artist named Nancy Sanchez, who's a brilliant singer-songwriter. And she wrote the title track called In Other Words. And then a side note is that we tried to get Fly Me to the Moon, the song that says, In Other Words, we couldn't afford it. It was just like a quarter of our complete budget was just for this one song. And so Nancy wrote an original track called In Other Words, and it came out beautifully. And then Mark asked if I would direct a music video for it, which we did. And then we cut it together with the movie, and I just released it last week.
I wasn't waiting for love to come around with just one text, and now I am love bound. Can't resist your awkward romantic ways. In other words, I need you to stay, 'cause I can't help but feeling this way. In other words, you make my life complete. In other words, you're perfect for me. When it comes to love, there are no borders, especially when she's the one. My heart saying you're the one.
Congratulations, that's very exciting. In fact, so you mentioned In Other Words, a little too expensive. Great question that I'd like to ask is, have there been highs and lows during this process?
Well, the highs we're working with like really amazing talent, like genuinely, and working with Renee, Victor, Enrique, Castillo, Bryan, Natasha, Edy has been amazing. But in indie filmmaking, some of the lows, like maybe are some of the budget is what we were talking about, right? You're constrained, but that can also be a high, because sometimes like some of the most like creative things that happen, some of the most creative magic that happens because of the lack of money. And so we have to be creative. We have to think outside the box. And one of the benefits of this was working with a talent like Nancy Sanchez and offering and giving a platform to an up and coming. And that's always amazing to be able to work with people who are rising stars. So there is the benefit there.
Can I tell a little story?
Sure.
We got to work with our composer, Daniel Hamui. He scored it. Some of it is music song, some of it is actual score. So you'll have violins and orchestral music. He scored it on his keyboard, and we worked out the music for each scene, the tone and the instrumentation. And once it was approved, he hired the Bulgaria Radio Symphony Orchestra from Sofia, Bulgaria, and via Skype, he conducted via Skype a Bulgarian symphony orchestra, radio symphony orchestra, to create this incredible score for it. And then so it was mastered in Rome, I think, and then it was like recorded in Bulgaria, mastered in Rome, and sent to Hollywood, where Daniel finished it. But it's just the miracle of what you could do today, and this is what happened because we needed to save money, and this is how we were able to achieve a very, very professional music score with less than it would cost to do any other way.
Nice. In addition to the success, well, what we expect to be something very successful, I know that your production company has had a lot of highs as well. Can you share with us what's been happening behind the scenes?
Well, we're very excited that our relationship with Grandave Capital, who financed our first film, is going to continue, and they have agreed to finance 2 additional movies, this being the first one. So it's a 3-picture deal with Grandave Capital, and so we're talking about which 2 they're going to be. We have a script that we're hoping to shoot next year, and we can't. That's all we can announce at this time. Yeah. But we're extremely thrilled. I mean, it's every filmmaker's dream to have people believe in them, and put your money where your mouth is, and actually be financed. So we're very excited that we do have financing for our next films.
In light of the pandemic that continues, and I believe, are all of you in California?
No. I'm in Mexico City.
Oh, you mentioned that earlier on. And Cristina and Patrick?
We're in Los Angeles. We're in Los Angeles County, but Bryan McClure is...
He's in Atlanta.
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, lovely. And I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
So we're covering the nation.
Yeah, the continent.
The thought that came to mind is, in light of the pandemic, has this delayed anything? Are there things that clearly there are things that you didn't expect. What role has COVID-19 and what we're experiencing globally had on this particular film, or just your projects in general?
Well, I'll let the actors also speak on it, but we had a awesome festival plan that just fell out. So I think, Natasha, were you going to come up? Actually, Natasha came with us to the press day at the San Diego Latino Film Festival, where it was going to have its West Coast premiere. And so Natasha was there for the press. She got interviewed, and then the day we were headed to the festival, it got canceled.
However, you have the New York Latino Film Festival that's coming up.
Yes, and we were able to do this one because it is. We also got picked up by HBO in February. It'll be out on HBO Latino, and HBO Latino is a sponsor of the New York Latino Film Festival. So that made it, even though it is currently being released today now, because they're affiliated with our distribution partner HBO, we are able to participate in that festival.
And where can viewers, Patrick, were you gonna, I heard you, I saw some excitement, a few gestures. Was there something you wanted to share?
Oh, we were gesturing towards Natasha and Bryan, like what had we wanted to hear what.
How did COVID affect their plans?
Okay, well, I had 2 films that were going to start shooting. Supposedly we're gonna start like around April, May, and they were postponed because of the pandemic. And one is for the United States and the other one is for Mexico. So they just, this affected all of us in one way or another. But thankfully, things are starting to pick up again, and there's another project that's in the works that I have with Bryan McClure. So this is really, really great, and we're looking forward to getting things started because it's time.
So now I'm curious, coincidental that both of you are working on another project together?
Well, it's Natasha's project, so she gets to call the shots, and she asked me, so graciously asked me to be a part of it with her. So I'm very, very much looking forward to playing opposite her again. Be a privilege, miss.
Oh, well, I am just so happy that Bryan decided to get on board, because right off the bat, we had great chemistry when we worked on In Other Words. And I think that translates on screen. I think the viewers will definitely be able to see that chemistry and engagement that we have. And we're just excited to be collaborating and creating new projects together. So that's really great.
You mentioned, beginning these projects. Is there a concern right now for all of you in light of the pandemic and taking the necessary precautions? I'm curious, as filmmakers, Patrick and Cristina, will you be moving quickly with other things? Do you find yourself you may have to delay certain things until next year?
Well, I do think that it is an issue with regards to, for example, SAG. Anything that we do move forward with, it does add, a considerable amount to the budget for PPE and the proper protocol. So we are going to try to shoot one more project this year. So we'll see. We're prepping now, and we're going to see how that goes.
It's definitely a concern. It changes everything because you can't have big crowds together. Intimate scenes are affected. The order you shoot things in is affected. There's just a slew of things. The amount of time it takes to get started in the morning is affected. So your hours are shortened. Your overall production days are lengthened. There's just a whole waterfall of effects. And these have been an obstacle stopping people from even starting production until there's some sort of a vaccine. But there have been a few productions that have proven that it can be done safely, and we believe it can be done safely, and especially if you keep your crew small and find ways to shoot your scenes that keep everybody safe. So we're looking forward to getting back to work in as safe a manner as possible, and keep doing what we do, because this is our career, our livelihood, and we have to keep moving.
I was just thinking maybe about the practice that you guys had working in a constrained space, and In Other Words, will lend to also having that same kind of challenge in this one,
Maybe.
You can look at it that way, that you said you work best in those creative environments.
It seems like Malibu Solstice up there, the way that we shot that, where everybody was like staying there, seemed to really, really work. So yeah, we get creative.
We've teased our viewers with quite a few things. So where can we tell them to watch out for the trailer, for the music video? I'm sure you have online social media sites.
Yeah, well, they can watch the movie and they can go rent it at, all of the digital platforms. Amazon Prime, Roku, Vudu, Fandango, iTunes.
Even your cable box, and whatever your cable provider is, just search for In Other Words, and it'll be on the now showing part.
We're at on Instagram, we're at In Other Words Movie. You can also find me. I am Cristina Nava. There's no H in my name.
Pat Perez Worlds for me on Instagram, or you can find us on Facebook.
Facebook has an In Other Words page, so we'll have the music video will be on the In Other Words page.
And it's also on YouTube, so check it out there.
Folks, it has been such a pleasure talking to all of you. I wish you great success with all of this. Please stay safe and healthy, because we need to see more of you. We need to watch some more projects from you, Cristina and Patrick. I can't wait to see this next film, Bryan and Natasha. So please continue to stay safe and healthy. Thank you for spending a little part of your afternoon with me.
Thank you for having us, Mabel.
Thanks, Mabel.
No hablo inglés.
You don't speak English? Give me your address.
In other words.